All right, this is a Logitech R400 remote. Adapter looks about normal. Then we get into the battery compartment. And it looks not so normal. So it's hard to see, but in here, you can see corrosion from batteries that had been there for way too long. So what I'm going to try and do is clean this back up and see what, if anything, is still salvageable in here. I did a little research ahead of time and found that there are 2 screws in here. They're actually at this end where the acid is torn it up pretty good. But we're going to see if I can peel this back and at least get those screws out. Hopefully without damaging anything here, although it looks like it's already in pretty rough shape. I mean, you can see the sticker is not even lifting out of there. It's just scraping right off. And I'll be wiping my hands frequently once I get this part underway because I don't really feel like having battery acid all over my hands. There's one screw. And there is screw number 2. So it might be a little hard to see. There's one right there and another one right there. And that is fairly gnarly in there. So I'm just going to pick up what I've got so far. Get this off of here. Down for trash. And it's a little tingly. Alright, we're done scraping with this for right now. So my goal is to soak these plastic pieces separately. See if I can clean them up at all. And then take these pieces here, 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 and here. Desolder any pieces that are soldered to the board on this side. And use baking soda to neutralize some of the acid and scrub them down. Clean them up, and then I'll put them back on. And after I've cleaned the rest of the board, hopefully been able to salvage it. One screw out. Two screws out. Those will get cleaned up again before they get put back in. Now I did see that somebody was prying this out and they had a little bit of trouble, so we're going to see if I can do any better with this. There's a tab back in here that holds this together, and it appeared to be able to get it out, but not without some damage to it. This looks like it just needs to get pushed back in there. And there we go. So no damage. That's good. All right, so as bad as that sounded, it does actually come apart like that. There's a plate up front, which I'll have to figure out. There's the plastic piece for the slider switch right here. This goes underneath some buttons, which I believe are here. Let's take a look here and see. It's a little harder to see. Might actually go underneath. Ah, yes. Here. And then these buttons would go in here, along with this one, which goes right there. They all fit snugly in there. So there's that. Now we get to the actual circuit board. Just held on by one tiny screw right here. See, it's pretty corroded in there already. So I think what I might do is just take this one, push gently, try and knock that out as much as I can. This is going to be kind of a mess to deal with here, but once I've got it loose, I should be able to work it back out the rest of the way. Okay, that's mostly out of there now. Get the dried acid off of my hands. Now there's one little piece that needs to be taken off last, and that's the laser. There is a laser pointer in this. And that's what it is on that little board right there. Which also looks like it's probably glued to this little plate. So I'm not going to try and take that off too bad. What I am going to do is very quickly take this off, take these off, wipe the board down some more. These plastic pieces will get cleaned out some more after all that. And we'll see where we're at with that. Get some of this battery acid, dried battery acid off the board as much as I can. We'll heat up the iron and get to work on taking this stuff off. Clean up a little my desk here. And yeah, the sponge needs some water to it. Alright. Let's see what tip we got on here. This is not the best tip, but you know, all I'm doing right now is taking this off. Once I get done with it, I'll figure out the rest of it. So let's figure out where this one is. Leave that as this one here. This one is alright. Yeah. We'll get that up. Iron is on. Ooh, got a little splatter on the side there from solder. Need to clean that up at some point, just so that it's well used. And you're probably not going to be able to hear me much once I turn my fume extractor on. And so this little doohickey right here. But it's kind of necessary. Before I do that, I'm going to put a little dab of flux on each spot and get my tweezers out. And this is going to help make it easier to flow. It's on there. I just need to clean out the syringe a little bit. There. Some of the dried up stuff out. Just dab all over that. One on this. And one on this. And that's probably more than I needed, but way more than I needed. But like I said, this board's going to get cleaned off, so I'm not too super worried about it. Get my set of tweezers here. Turn on my fume extractor. Get some solder out. Get out of the way here. Always gotta make sure it stays 10. And now let's take these off. Alright, there's my laser. Here is my negative terminal. And here is my positive terminal. Easy peasy. That's the easy part. Getting back on is going to be a pain in the ass, but to the tip. Shut it down. Actually, I'm going to use a little bit of flux on this whole board where it's kind of crummy. See with the hot air what I can burn off without actually damaging the board. So give me a pretty good idea of what to expect. Turn that on. Good thing I caught it. My iron is not where it should be, and this battery is not where it should be. Boom. Bad idea. Alright. Now we're on. Now I can get a pair of pliers to gently hold one end of this board while I heat the remainder up. We're going to go up to 325 here. It might be kind of hard to see there for a minute, but that flux actually did a pretty good job. It actually looks like it's burned there. Is mostly paper from a sticker. It's not actually the corrosion. That board doesn't look too bad on the whole. So that's good. It means once I resolder everything back on there, it should work no problem. But as you can see, that is gnarly. This is definitely better than it was. It was all white and crusty on there. There's some sticker stuff, some goo, but an awful lot of corrosion. So I'm gonna put that there. These. These off. It's here for now because I'm gonna need those later. Get what I can off the mat here. It's gonna be pretty gnarly. Right. This is 70% alcohol, not the 91% I'd like to use, but being that there's a pandemic on, this is about as good as I'm going to be able to get right now. It's just want to scrub as much of this crud off of the mat as I can. And then we'll clean the board, and then I'll use some high-proof alcohol to actually wipe off the residue from this stuff when it's all done. Again, I'd use 91 if I had it, but I don't. Now this is a solvent, should definitely remove any crud that was on that board. You know, this is not a traditional method, but I'm doing this in my garage. So if this was 91, it'd already be gone. I'm just going for big chunks off the board right now. Kind of scraping that away. Make sure there's no major damage here. But on the whole, it probably looks worse from what I'm doing to it than anything it's actually got going on there. So that's good. Again, I'm not trying to get all of it off. I'm just trying to get residue and anything that might be holding some acidic stuff in there. So once this board's all patched back together again, now, there is one component I'm a little concerned about. It's probably hard to tell. Get some out later. And right there, I might have pushed that around due to my reflow activities. But actually, I think it's just a little bit of sour. Otherwise, I think it's pretty good. That's just a current limiting resistor. So I should come over with these. Actually bend this back a little bit. I'll actually come over with those and there we go. And I might even remove this resistor while I'm putting these back on. Put that resistor in last because it needs very little of anything to put it on there. The microscope is going to not be fun to do, but it's manageable. And then again, this is probably a current limiting resistor to make sure if something shorts out in here, it doesn't completely blow the entire board. Otherwise, the components on here seem in relatively good shape. I don't think there's any rework I need to do on that. So use a little bit more alcohol. A different piece of this cloth to kind of weed out, clean up the rest of this board here as best I can. Not perfect. I'm not trying to get everything off. I'm just trying to get the major stuff off of it. Most of that is, like I said, sticker residue. can sit. Well, the rest of these parts get a short soak in baking soda. And then a rinse in water and then a day to dry out. So these will go in a little plastic tub. We'll clean out overnight, and then I'll come back and then we'll see how they do after they've had some time to soak. Cleaned up, rinsed off, and put back together. Sand the sticker, and everything should be good.